Hello.
Welcome back to Sweet Hang number 2 with
Number
Mr. Jeffrey Way. Hello,
2.
Jeffrey.
Hello,
Yay.
gentlemen. Good to be
I
here.
think Jeffrey was one of our first guests. He might have even been our first guest. You were on a very long time ago.
think
You
that's
were a
right.
very early
Mhm.
guest.
I think I
Way back.
think I was episode 4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah, it was
So
really
this
early.
is my second visit. Who has the
Yeah.
record so far? Do you know?
Has Taylor been on twice, maybe?
I feel
Any
like Caleb's been on
three-timers?
3
Oh, Caleb's
times.
been on 3 times. Yeah,
Caleb,
Caleb.
at least.
Well,
He
Caleb
pinch hit when you were out. We
pinch
did a
hit.
live launch, and I feel like we did another one with him.
Yeah, Caleb's
Okay.
probably been on 3 times. So you're getting there.
Pretty
You're
cool.
getting
All right,
close.
I'm working up there. One more time.
One
And
more
I'll be
time.
caught
We'll come back next week. You can just come back next week. Yeah, why not?
Love it.
Ian, you were using a bunch of good content pre-show. I was having some lighting issues, and you started going off about no apps. I don't have any apps. No apps for my lights. All right, so we gotta talk lighting setups real quick because Jeffrey,
Yes.
you look amazing. Ian,
Jeffrey
you're
looks the
complaining about
best.
apps. So Ian, you go first. Give us a little complaint here.
Well, I just think I used to have the light panels. I forget. It was like that company that makes all the podcast gear stuff, whatever.
Elgato.
Elgato. I had the Elgato ones, right? And they need the app. And then the app never worked right. And it was always a mess. And so then I switched to these huge panels that are by the real company that does real LED lighting for like movies. I can't remember their name either, but they do like the poles and things. So there's 2 huge light panels. You just plug them in. They got a little dial on the back. You set the dial. It never changes. And it's perfect. Perfect every time.
Ian, do you have the one where it's like it's a big circle, it's huge, and it's shining right at your face? Is that what you have?
Mine are rectangular, but it is the same concept. Yes.
Yeah. I have one of those too, where you just kind of turn it for the percentage of how bright you want it to be.
Yes.
And it's funny, I have mine down to 12% or something. I'm
Same with
barely
mine.
using it.
That's exactly the same as mine. I have one in the front and the opposite corner, one in the back, and that one's reflecting off a wall. And they're both at 10, 12%. Like any more than that, and it's an incredible amount of light that you're just blowing out. So
yeah,
I was messing with my temperature because I felt like I was really kind of orange, and so I was trying to change it to. And you can go too cold, you can go color of death
like
here.
that.
You get blue.
Yep, this is not great. So I was messing with it before, and it kept turning off. Jeffrey, what are you using?
Do you guys do that thing where you take a picture of a sheet of paper to white balance to figure out exactly where you should be, or do you eyeball it?
I just eyeballed it.
Eyeball it.
I'm too lazy.
Yeah, I'm not professional enough.
Yeah,
I have very much a love-hate relationship with Elgato. On one hand, it's really useful. It's plug and play, and then stuff just doesn't work. Like you try to hook up your lights, and then all of a sudden one of them won't show up on your Wi-Fi, and it doesn't turn on, and you have to turn it off and unplug and put it back in, and it ends up sometimes feeling like it's more work than the benefit it brings. So I kind of agree with you, Ian. Maybe it's better to go old school. And you know what? The lighting ends up being a lot better too. Like I have over here, and you can't see it, of course. I have one of those little square, tiny desk Elgato lights. And it's not nearly as good as this gigantic thing I have over here. And this thing is not
100%.
automated. I have to push a button to make it work.
Exactly.
But it dramatically improves the quality of my lighting.
Here's a little hack for you. Get one of these. It's like $20, Black & Decker.
Okay.
It's a remote controlled outlet switch. And it can control multiple outlets. Like you plug it into your outlet, and then you plug your light into that. And now I can just push this button, and I can turn it off. I can turn it on just with a click. Multiple lights, right? That's it. I don't have to go. I don't ever touch the light. The light is done. I set the percentage. I can touch this button to turn them on. I haven't touched the lights in a year.
That's cool. That's the dream. I've switched to all aperture. I think it's aperture. Amaran.
Yes.
So the company is the company's Aperture, and then the brand is Amaran or something like that. And I have this fancy you gotta you can set up
control panel.
Yeah, you can set up
it's still an app.
presets. But you can set up presets and stuff. And so that's what I normally do. And I've got the big guy here and then a couple of guys behind me. But yeah, Steve helped me set this up because I was like, I don't know. It's just so much. There's so friggin' much to do, man.
Yep.
That is one thing I love about programmers. I see it left and right. It's like we have an unhealthy relationship with automation. And I don't know why this is the case, but every programmer I've ever met has this need to take any single task they do more than once and automate it away. And I feel it constantly. And my wife doesn't feel it at all. She thinks it's wild, where she's like, it's just not that big a deal. It only takes you 30 seconds. But I'm thinking, No, but it's 30 seconds every single day. If I spend 3 hours right now, I never have to do it again. And she doesn't understand it at all. But every programmer has this need to find some way to optimize. Like, I don't know if it's built into us or we're just trained to do it, but I don't know, there's just some need to optimize every single part of your life. And it ends up being weirdly unhealthy. And as we all know, you spend more time trying to optimize the task than the task would ever take in 5 years.
Ever.
But we all do it. I don't get it.
Well,
I think it's the same thing that made us become programmers in the first place. I think it's like
it could be
that. Yeah, that part of our brain is why we
control
became,
your environment.
Exactly.
I feel like this is one of my this is all directly tied to one of my cornerstone business dad takes, which is you should never build a product for programmers, which obviously you guys are like the opposite of that advice. But like,
it's true.
Because they're always looking for the next thing, right? The next optimization. Like, oh, this tool is 4% better than I got to switch to Codex because it's now slightly better than Claude, right? And then, Claude did a new release. Now I'm going to switch back to Claude. Like, this is what we all do. We're looking for these micro optimizations, which is so bad to sell into. I just want a customer like your wife, Jeffrey, who's like, I got a solution. It works. I'm done thinking about it. Problem solved. I'm not thinking about it ever again unless it breaks, right? Like that's the beautiful customer. Not
And
us.
that's the
We're
weirdest thing is
terrible.
we will research other tools and then somebody might say, well, what's wrong with what you're currently using? And sometimes the answer is like, no, it's fine.
Yeah,
I
can't even
I'm
give
just
them an
curious
answer.
if there's
Right.
something better. So I'm going to waste half my day researching
Yes.
other tools, even though I'm perfectly happy with what I'm using right now.
If
It's
it's
an
only
illness,
it was
Ian.
half a day. If only it was half a day. That would be an improvement. I feel like the current one, besides all the LLMs, is next to TanStack. Everybody's like, oh, Next.js sucks. We should all switch to TanStack Start. And so everybody's moving over to TanStack Start. And now Remix 3 is out. And everybody's like, wow, we got to give Remix 3 a try. And I'm like, guys, I just want Vue 2 to come back. That's all I have ever wanted.
Say, Aaron, I will tell you the truth. I don't know what any of these tools are.
Yes.
I don't know what Remix
I'm
is.
so happy for you.
I don't know what TanStack is. I
amazing.
don't know. Don't care at the moment.
Oh, Jeffrey. Okay, so this leads us to the main point, Jeffrey.
Okay.
I feel like you have a pretty good relationship with social media. Do you feel that way? I feel like you're really
No.
Well, see,
I feel like you're not as plugged in.
I feel like there was a time like 10 years ago where you were everywhere, Jeffrey. And then I always felt like a conscious decision to be like, you know what?
Yes, same.
This is a lot. And I'm just going to like chill a little bit, you know?
I had kids.
Right.
That changed everything. It really did. And I feel, even though like, so I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And even though I have a 1-year-old, the oldest two are kind of growing out where I can feel them getting to that point where they don't even want me around, which is sad, but also like, okay, finally, I can
liberating.
Now. But I did feel for a long time there like I was drowning a little bit. So I did make this conscious choice to just pull back from everything. And there's also like guilt, I think, associated with social media when you have kids. Like I guarantee anyone who has kids has had this experience where your kid is talking to you. And, it's like kids are just talking to you. Little kids are talking to you nonstop. You can't answer every single question they have. And sometimes you may feel yourself like reaching and looking at your phone while they're talking to you, opening Twitter. And that is such a horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
And I guarantee everyone has felt that tendency of like, okay, I'll do that in just a minute. And then suddenly, for no reason whatsoever, you're pulling up Twitter. And there's nothing to see there. Like there's nothing interesting.
Nothing to see.
But it's just the habit. The weird addiction of when I open my phone, I push that icon, And I hated the feeling that I was doing that around my kids. And it's not like I still do it sometimes, just to tell you the truth. But I definitely pulled back dramatically.
How? What did you do?
I don't want to lie and say I don't feel an addiction to it right now, because I do. Do you guys ever have that thing where it's like you come to a red light in the car and then suddenly you grab your phone and you're doing something, you pull up some app? That's weird, right?
Only
so
at
many
red
people,
lights, definitely, for sure, for me.
It's very strange, isn't it? And it's like you're not doing anything. It's just the habit of reaching for something. And it's almost like we get trained to avoid any 60-second period of just solitude and silence. And you have to fill it up with a bunch of stuff. And I hate that feeling. I will say I don't think I go a day without opening Twitter. So is that addiction? Like, you guys be my counselor. Is that addiction? Yes, I would say.
I think that's healthy-ish, though. That's not an unhealthy quantity compared to the, like, 400 times a day. You know?
It's addiction
when you're on
adjacent.
autopilot.
On the other hand, though, if you told me you don't go a day without smoking, I'd say, well, it's because you're addicted. Like, you cannot go a single day without a cigarette. You have an addiction.
Right.
But yes, it is true. Like, it's to what extent you have an addiction.
Continuum.
I do look at it every day, but I don't feel like I have an unhealthy relationship with it.
Have you successfully broken the red light impulse?
And what is the red light impulse?
Pick up the phone at a 60-second or 30-second break at a red light. Do you just sit there at a red light and look forward like an idiot?
Nobody looks forward anymore. Isn't that crazy?
I still grab it.
Isn't that
okay? All right. Whoo.
Okay.
He's
all right. So at least we can talk.
He's
all right.
human,
You're not.
you know?
Yeah. You're not some like
about that.
untouchable saint.
Literally yesterday, I was thinking about this because my middle kid is 15. So in New York next year, he'll be able to get his permit. And I'm just like, there's like so many little habits in the car after having driven so long, you know, that I'm like, I'm going to have to be like, don't do any of this stuff that you see us doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like little shortcut, like obviously like phone at a red light, but even just like whatever, the way you might enter an intersection because you kind of know what's going on because you're experienced with it, right? Or whatever. And like, you might go faster than you should making a left turn because it's probably a bad idea even for us, right? But you're awesome and you feel like you could do it. Like, no, it's like, it's going to be very challenging with this kid to,
and they're watching everything too. That's one thing I've had to remind myself. They're watching everything.
Everything.
The real thing, I don't know, Jeffrey's probably to this point with a 9-year-old, but Aaron's not quite there yet, but like they don't listen to anything you say, but they watch everything you do and are emulating the things you do. So like this is what's tricky. It's like you could tell them the right thing. I do feel like enough telling them the right thing eventually sinks in there, but you can't just tell them things once or twice and they're like, oh yeah, that's logical and that makes sense and I agree with you. Like that just goes right out. Like they don't hear any of that. Yeah. So like
it's the 10,000 rule once again.
Right.
Like learning not to walk into the road when cars are passing is something you have to learn 10,000 times. I've realized this with little kids. I've literally said it to my kids. Look both ways, not yet, not yet. Is it safe to pass? I've done it 10,000 times, like every single day. And then they will still walk into the road sometimes without looking. And it's like, how many times have I said this to you kids? You're going to die. Like I'm trying to keep you alive. You have to do it 10,000 times. It's but like they don't listen to you, but they're paying attention. It is always nice sometimes when my son will reference something that I thought was like a nothing burger, just some random comment. And he will bring it up. And it's a reminder like, oh, okay, you were paying attention. That is nice that you picked up on that little thing I shared with you.
There's some like they don't listen, but they're doing that where they're listening to every single thing. Also, like the other day, my wife was trying to get our 4-year-old into the car, and the daughter, she was disobeying, and my wife was telling her, you know, you have to do this. My little girl started crying and was like, you can't tell me because God's in charge of everything, meaning like you're not in charge, God is. And it's like, well, yeah, I guess like I'm glad you heard that, but that doesn't super apply here. You need to get in your car seat. And so like they hear it somewhere, but they're not like actively listening to the right thing in the moment.
And Aaron, what you will experience if your kids start going to school is they will, and this is infuriating, Aaron, they will start assigning more weight to what one of their teachers says than what you say.
Yeah.
And so I'm always hearing about what their damn PE teacher is saying. And they're like, well, Mr. Siegel says that we're not supposed. And it's like, all right, I know more than Mr. Siegel, and I'm telling you you're allowed to do this. And it blows my mind that they assign so much more weight and control to him than they do to their own dad. It's infuriating, Aaron. I hope you experience it soon.
The only one I've gotten so far is they've started calling me bro. And,
that's big. That's big.
I said, hey, bro's not a bad word. That's a fine word, but we don't call mom and dad bro. And they're like, well, Josiah's parents say that he can call them bro. And I said, that's fine. Every family is different, but do not call me bro. It's like, okay, I don't care what Josiah's parents do.
That's
crazy.
Funny.
And you have to deal with that with phones too, where it's like, so-and-so, my friend at school has a phone. Why can't I have a phone?
Oh,
and it's hard to answer that question, right? Because every family has a different reasoning for what they do. And that's a battle I'm currently going through with my oldest daughter. So
no phones yet in the way household for the kids?
My current view is no phones for as long as you can possibly manage.
Agreed.
But here's where it gets tricky. There are situations where it's like, it would just be useful if you had a phone. Like if you are going to some kind of activity or event where it's like, it would be nice if I could get in contact with you if I need to. But then in order to do that, I have to introduce some kind of phone, and that opens a whole world that I don't want to introduce yet. I've heard some people do this thing with the watches, where on the watch you can actually make a phone call, but beyond that, there's not that much you can do. That might be a good way to go for us. But I don't know. She's bringing it up more and more, and she's only 9.
Do her friends have them? Smartphones?
Some do. Yeah. That's the hardest part. It's like some friends get them super early.
They all have them. By 10, they all have them. But yeah, we held out basically not till high school is when we kind of gave in on the phones.
Okay. And does that include social media?
No. So no social media apps, but there are, of course, exceptions. Like the oldest one wasn't really even interested in social media, so he never even had anything, and now he's in college, and that's it, right? The middle kid, who's in 10th grade now, all his friends only communicate over Snapchat. They don't use Messenger, like they all Snapchat. So we gave him Snapchat because he felt like super out of the loop, and because nobody communicates any other way. So it's like, okay, you have Snapchat, but you don't have like Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or any of that stuff. So that's been kind of the balance, and they've been fine with that. They're not that interested. They haven't pushed on the other stuff. They just want like the only push we've ever had so far is like the communication, because they all only message over Snapchat in this group or whatever.
And that's the hard part, right? It's the peer pressure. It's like even if you want to stick to your guns, it is true. Like if all of their friends there, then suddenly they're ostracized or they're not part of the main group, and that's not cool either.
That's
not something I'm looking forward to.
The line ended up being like, if you're just posting yourself on Instagram of like, I'm pretty, or this is what I'm doing or whatever, that felt like we're just going to be a hard no on that. But this is you're actually communicating, and it's like just his circle of friends in these groups. So it's like, okay, whatever, we're going to give it on that. And then our youngest, we do the watch thing, because she does equestrian riding. And so she's at the barn all day without us often. So it's like, yes, we want to be able to reach her, but we don't want her just scrolling social media all day, or just even like doing stupid shit on the phone, even if it's not social media, right? It's like, so the watch has been great. I have to say, it's like they can get their messages, they can make a phone call, and that's really all you can do on it. So
I think that's the way to go. Like sometimes I'll drive my kids to school and we'll stop and we'll see some kids at a bus stop. And it's the most like dystopian thing you've ever seen. All of them are sitting on the ground, and they're all looking at their phones. They're not talking to each other. It is very dark feeling, because that is not what the bus stop was for me when I was a little kid.
No.
And I get it. It's like people figure it out, and kids will figure out some way to be friends, and maybe they're doing something together at the same time. I don't know. But from the outside, it's rough. I hate seeing that.
I think I'm okay. So I will hold off as long as possible on phones in general. And then for social media, I think I'm okay with stuff like Snapchat, because it is more just like talking with friends. I think the thing that really can mess the kids up is the algorithmic feeds, where you get pulled into things, and the platforms, are feeding you more and more and more, where Snapchat is kind of just like texting, but like hipper. And so
they do
okay with
have
that.
a public thing now, which is and the parental controls are not the greatest, so you can't totally lock it down. But yeah, I mean, he pretty clearly only really uses it for that. They do watch YouTube, which is like a middle ground, I guess, kind of for me a little bit. But
see, my kids do use YouTube.
Yeah.
And that is a social media app, isn't it? I don't think of it that way, but it is kind of like the best social network.
I mean, it's like TV, to me, it's like, this is what the time we spent watching TV is like the time they spend watching YouTube to me, although obviously there's the algorithm and all the stuff. So like, you still have to be a little cautious with that. But it is the best of them, in my opinion.
You know what's weird with little kids in YouTube is they will watch the worst stuff you've ever seen in your life, and that's all they want to watch. And I'm like, guys, there are companies that have spent millions and millions and millions of dollars trying to make something specifically for you, and they will choose the Minecraft, some guy in his bedroom, like, okay, today we're going to build this castle, and they will spend an hour watching it instead of the thing they spent millions of, like, it must confound companies like Disney. that kids will choose some of this YouTube stuff over the movies they make. But
it must confound a content creator dad where you're putting all this effort in and people are still watching brain rot. It must be confounding.
Yeah, it's amazing that but it's all like the niches, right? It's like my daughter's super into these 12-year-old girls who are in England and wherever, and they have their own horse, right? And they have a barn and they're buying stuff for the horse and then whatever, all the stuff, right? This is what she's interested in. So this is what she wants to watch. And there actually isn't that much Disney produced content around this niche, right? You watch the one or two movies and that's kind of it. And so, yeah, but it does kill me because I'm a big movie guy, and getting kids to watch a movie, it's like on my birthday, and like a couple other times a year, I can get them to sit and watch a 3-hour movie.
You can't even get your 36-year-old co-hosts to watch a movie, much less the kids.
Yeah. I know. Ridiculous.
You know what's weird too is when we were little, it's like your identity was connected to 4 movies that you selected.
Yes.
And they just were the 4 movies you happened to have in your house. If you're like,
VHS,
it's just the ones we had you watched over and over.
Yep.
And suddenly you're quoting these movies and they're part of your identity for no other reason than that you got it in the bargain bin at Walmart in 1989.
I feel like my brother and I watched 3 Ninjas like 100 times. Let's see, 1992 family comedy, an hour and 24 minutes long. That is just the golden era of movies.
Yeah.
Early 90s, they made funny movies that were not 2.5 hours long. Oh man, yeah, I totally agree. We used to quote stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
All right, Ian, should we pay some bills? And then I want to talk to Jeffrey about a Vision Quest.
Yes, exciting. All right, let's pay some bills. First up, our super friends over at Laravel Forge. It's server management with root access, but none of the cognitive overhead. One-click provisioning, 0 downtime deployments, that's new, automated SSL, and a bunch more. In the time I read this ad, you literally could have deployed a Laravel VPS. Yes, it's that fast. Check them out over at forge.laravel.com. And our mega super fans over at Bento, bentonow.com, the email marketing and CRM platform teams actually love. Thanks so much to Bento. Again, check them out at bentonow.com. Okay. Vision Quest. That's what got this kicked off.
Way. Can I call you Jeffrey? Jeffrey. Okay, so you listened to the Vision Quest episode. At least you responded to the tweet about the Vision Quest. Have you ever done like a solo work retreat, or like I got to go figure out what the next quarter, the next year, anything like that is going to look like? Or have you been on the rails since like it started working with Laracasts?
I would love to do a Vision Quest, Aaron. I love everything about it. I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I'm not sure. You know what I don't love is like anytime you want to do something personal like that, it's always like a negotiation with your spouse, especially when you have young kids. So it's always like,
it should be. That proves you're a good husband. Good job.
I know, but like, my wife would probably say, absolutely, you need to do this. But it's always that guilt of like, okay, well, then let's make sure that you have some time when I get back.
Right.
And it's a constant negotiation to make sure that nobody gets too overwhelmed. Because it is true, like, especially, and you know this, Aaron, with young kids, you're just tired all the time.
All the time.
And it's kind of like at some point, maybe you're doing more and other times your wife's doing more. So you're constantly trying to help each other out to make sure that you get a little bit of sleep. And I think like I said, I think I'm just now beginning to get beyond that phase of tired all the time. So it resonated with me big time. I would love to do something like that. Also because I haven't done anything like that in so long. The idea of just unplugging completely, despite the fact that you didn't unplug, Aaron.
As many tweeters pointed
to make
out.
fun of every single response, which
it's
was
unbelievable.
So it's like obviously you're gonna have a way to contact your family if you go away.
Yeah.
But you brought your phone, anyways.
Yes.
I would love to do it. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but I do think it's incredibly important. And this is something I've only learned since I started a business, is how valuable it is to give yourself time to sit and just think. Sometimes you get in the habit of just, here's what has to be done today. Oh, we have 50 emails. I got to do this. Then I got to work on this. And then you never actually allow yourself time to just sit and think about what you want to do and what the business should do. And I find, especially recently, that's like the most valuable time I have because it's so rare. So I'm curious, Aaron, when you went, how much of the time was just spent unplugging and decompressing a little bit? And how much of it was spent really thinking about where you want to go as a business?
It was interesting because I didn't spend too much time in like a directed thought mode. It was a whole lot of let's sit around and slow down and kind of see what comes up. And some of those thoughts we will like actively dive into, some will just like watch them float by. But there was some time at the end. So I was there, checked in on Wednesday afternoon and checked out on Friday morning. And so all of Thursday I was just totally off the grid. Friday morning I did a little bit of like synthesizing, we'll say.
Okay.
And that was some time where it was like, all right, I've had a lot of free form meditation style thinking where I can just, put some pieces together. And then Friday morning it was like, all right, what do we do? What do we do about all this? Let's take this clarity and some of these newly formed ideas and put them together on paper. I actually did voice memos because I was writing way too slow. But Friday morning was the only time I did real, like, focused, dedicated thinking like that.
Okay, so you didn't have a notepad next to you. You didn't have a little binder.
I did bring my notepad, and on Thursday I wrote just a few things down. And I did a few voice memos on Thursday, but I didn't write down like, all right, let's address this question. And then have like, I think these things. Now let's address this question. I didn't do that at all.
Okay. And you feel like one of the big conclusions you came to is that social media is a big problem in your life. And
yes. That was I think that was probably the big conclusion, was that I feel like I am like you said, tired all the time. That's like a unavoidable fact of life right now. So that's okay. But I also feel like I'm working really hard, and some portion of that hard work is just going into spinning wheels, like not forward movement, just burning the tires. And I kind of assessed like how I spend my days and weeks. And a lot of it was like, yeah, it's because you're just hopping back and forth between little things, and many of those little things are social media, and some of those little things are just like projects I want to do that I really shouldn't be doing because I don't have like a super successful business where I can just be like, and today I want to work on, open source, or this week or this month or whatever. It's like, hey man, you gotta do the one thing that is paying the bills. And so between those two, like, that kind of is all encompassed in focus. But a big part of that is, you got to just like stop flitting your attention around every 10 minutes.
And do you feel like in general that's a problem you have? Is it you have trouble focusing on one thing and sticking with it for a long period?
I feel like that has been,
because it doesn't feel that way
mode.
From the outside, just as an aside.
That's very kind. And someone else at Laracon, I almost said Laracasts and Laravel. Someone else at Laracon said that when I said the following, which is, I feel like that has been a failure mode of mine in the past, is like, have a good idea, execute it, I think, at a high level, and then be like, well, I kind of did it. Let's like do something else that's interesting. And they were like, well, I don't really see that in you. So that's encouraging to hear. But I do feel like historically there have been some things where if I had just like, I don't know if like burn the bridges is right, or just like, I don't know. But yes, I do feel, rightly or wrongly, looking back, if I had focused on some things more, I probably could have had more success.
Well, I wonder if that is another example of your need to optimize, because to repeat it, from the outside, it seems like you're a hyper performer. Like, I swear, like every week you're at some other conference. It seems like you're constantly releasing amazing like commercials and courses. So to a regular person, it seems like you're knocking it out of the park. So if you feel like you're having trouble with focus, I wonder if that's true. Or again, it's just you are such an optimizer. If there's 10% more that you could scrape away, that's what you're focused on, despite the fact that you're actually doing incredibly well. Like, by any stretch, everyone would say Aaron is doing an incredibly good job. So how much do you think about that?
Oh man, I don't feel that at all. I do not feel like I'm doing an incredible job. Like, maybe 5% of the time I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm doing an incredible job. 95% of the time I'm like, I am a massive failure. Easily 95%. And to the dear listener, I have a counselor that I see occasionally. This is not my only outlet, but yes, I super feel like, oh man, I could be doing so much more, so much better, so much differently, all of it for sure.
Do you think though, like, I think one of the things is like, well, this is always interesting in general, right? With like social media and perception versus reality potentially on some level, right? Like, I feel like this is one of my big negatives I've talked about on the show with Twitter in its current era. Is like, it's always just throwing at me like, look at super successful person, look at person who's building a new help desk software app in 5 minutes and it's 10 times better than yours, right? Like, it's always throwing that stuff at me. So it's like, oh man, these people are all super on it and successful and so much more productive. Like, that's like kind of the algo of it right now. So that kind of comes through, I think. But also, but yeah, I don't know with Aaron, I wonder if yours is kind of like, we've talked about this a little on the show, but it's like, from the outside, you're shipping a lot of stuff and it's all high quality, right? Which is like what Jeffrey's talking about. But then it's more like the business connection to me of like, you ship these things that are one-offs, right? Yeah. And so the requirement is to continue shipping one-offs, and that's hard to do at a sustained level, right? That's where we got to get, right? It's like when Jeffrey did his big push and built Laracast, like then he could stop pushing at some point quite so hard, I assume, at least dial back a little bit, because, well, the money keeps coming in. So now you can like, you can have slow periods and you can ramp up and you can have slow periods, right? And whereas when it's like, well, I got to sell this course and the launches are it, and then launch is the only time I really make money, like you kind of are like have to be in that high state.
Maybe I'm judging on a different scale, and the scale is after tax dollars in my personal bank account, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm working really hard. I should just go get a job. Yeah, that's the disconnect.
Is like you're seeing the dollars in the bank account. Everybody on the outside sees you produce amazing stuff that's incredible, right? And that's the disconnect.
Yep.
Maybe that's interesting. So you think you're doing all this effort and it's not converting to dollars in your bank account in the way you would expect.
Yes? So like these conferences, right? Ton of work, I put in my best effort, and I think I do a very good job, and it pays me $0. And everybody's like, "Oh wow, that's amazing!" And I'm like, I love speaking. I think it's really fun. I enjoy it. I get a lot of like fulfillment out of it. And then I've burned 2 weeks and not moved any dollars up the hill.
Yeah, but I think of those as deposits that you will withdraw later.
That's my hope too. I'm just ready to withdraw.
I think there's definitely value trusting that, all right, you're going to do this for free, but every single time you do it, and as you definitely go to some of the out there conferences, way beyond our little community. And every time you do that, there's hundreds of new people who suddenly become familiar with Aaron Francis. And then when you do launch your next thing, you have that much wider of a net. So I think when you make that withdrawal, it's going to be much larger. But I get it. It's like in the meantime, it is an incredible amount of work to prepare a talk, and you're not getting anything for it. That's a problem.
I also think it's one of those things where, like, again, like the business model is quite interesting in these regards, because it's like everybody's attention is so thin right now, right? It's like there's so much the algorithm, social media, life, the world, whatever, all the stuff, right? That like when you make that deposit, and then you go to withdraw it on a one-time sale item.
Yeah.
Like you have to hope you catch them right when they're actually paying attention, and you can actually get them to buy right now, right? Whereas like if you could convert 3 or 4 people to subscription and then they say subscribe for 7 years, like now you've made way more money than like those 5 people who paid you one time for something that you maybe can get their attention for. So like that's like the rub, I think, in all this is converting them to something so much more valuable to you is like part of the process here, probably.
And Aaron, it's if only it's for you to take a breath, to know that next month there will be income. It reminds me of actors. They always talk about like once they finish a job on a movie set, they're unemployed again. You always hear this. Like suddenly when they're done with the job, they're unemployed and they have to start all over. And I wonder if to some extent you're that way, where you release a course and you make a big pile, and then it's probably, I would imagine, the revenue trickles off slowly. And then you have to do it again. And you constantly have this feeling that you need to be smart and produce and make something amazing that everyone wants to buy. And you never take a break. There's always another one you have to produce. That's exhausting for anyone. If you switch to a subscription model, there's issues with that too, to be fair. There is an expectation that you're going to provide more.
It's a harder sale for sure.
It's a harder sale, But I don't know. I think it's worth it, Aaron. I think you should. Are you looking into it for database
I
school?
am. So let's talk about this.
Okay.
I am. So as we all know, or at least we can all, if we don't know, we can calculate the math. It's hard to get the subscription thing up to the monthly nut, right? You got to build it up until it covers the mortgage and whatever else, right? So that is maybe what you were alluding to. There are problems with subscription, and then churn is another one. But here's what I'm thinking right now. Database School will become a subscription platform, and I will have a second source of income that feeds Database School, and that is these sponsored courses. And so I have one coming out. I have another under contract and a third in discussion phases right now. And the shape of these is a company comes along and pays me a substantial amount of money to produce a course that in these cases will be free to the end users. They can be email gated, but they will be free to the end users. And so I'm thinking that can help me bridge the gap between like building up the subscription base. Is I kind of get a little bit of like the launch bump, but without having to like, launch it, because I get the lump sum payment from these companies. And so let's say the names I'm about to name, I'm not in talks with at all. So let's say that like Single Store is like, hey, we want you to produce a single store course on Database School, and we'll pay you $100,000 to do it, but it has to be free to the end user. And I'm like, great, let's do it. And so then I produce a single store course. It's email gated. People sign up for the platform. Single Store pays me. And then at some point, hopefully I can convert those free users to paid because they want to watch Intro to Redis or Advanced Redis or Queuing with Redis or something like that, right? And so that's kind of my plan right now is I'm going to take Mastering Postgres, High Performance SQLite, and this Intro to Postgres that is coming, and MySQL for Developers as a gift from PlanetScale. Thank you, PlanetScale. I'll put all of those on databaseschool.com. Some will be free, some will be paid, but they'll all be email gated. And then I will try to do more of these like corporate big lump sum deals in addition to individual courses that the end user will have to pay for. So that is my hybrid theory, to speak of Linkin Park. What do we think about that?
I like it. Do you think realistically there's a point when you're going to run out of sponsors? When it's like the sponsors who have the budget, which is not that huge of a number, you've kind of done most of them. And then suddenly but maybe the idea is by then your subscription revenue will be high enough that it's okay if it's not as frequent.
Yep, that is the hope.
That seems smart to me.
So if I can get one of these, let's say if I can get 4 a year, or maybe even 2 or 3 a year of these like corporate courses that pay me the lump sum, that is not, I'm not, high on the horse, but that is enough to like live. And then I can build up the subscription base over time. And hopefully by the time those two lines cross, I'm feeling good about everything.
So what you will run into as well is like every time you hire somebody, though, people forget this, but it's like, it's just you choosing to make less money.
I know.
I think sometimes when people get hired at companies, you think of it as like this abstract company thing. But often it's just one person at the top who is now making less money every month because they want to hire you. And that's something you're going to have to run into. Like every 6 months or so, is it worth pulling somebody in? And that means I'm going to lose money, but maybe they'll bring money back, but you never know. And it's just, it's a battle you're constantly going to have, is how much do you expand and how much risk you want to take?
Yep.
Knowing that each of these people will now depend on that income, and it's hard to fire. It's hard to let people go. It's one of the worst things I've ever had to do. And you will have to do that as well.
You have, I want to hear how you have, how you've done that calculus, because Laracasts has changed shape quite a bit from its inception to now. So I want to hear how you've kind of made those decisions. But before I hear that, I want to thank all of our friends everyone here loves Spotsy. So today's show is sponsored by Flare, which is a Spotsy product. It is all-in-one error tracking and performance monitoring for your Laravel applications. So you can find them at flareapp.io. And if you want to learn more about the performance monitoring, flareapp.io/performance-monitoring. Thank you to the crew at Spotsy for bringing us all together for this wonderful show. So, Jeffrey, you've hired a bunch of people. The thing has changed shape a lot. I'm curious if you have had any desires to change your role in the business over time.
Yes.
Like, because that's one of the things that, like, the Vision Quest is like, I want to do certain things, and I don't want to do other things. And so you've been in business, what, 10 years? 12 years? 12 years. So how has that changed shape over time, and how do you make those decisions?
Well, here's an interesting anecdote. A couple years ago, I did start hiring more people. I hired 3 or 4 people. And the motivation in my mind was, okay, I'm going to hire some people, and then I can kind of pull back a little bit. Because suddenly I don't have to be responsible for all of these things that were taking up so much of my time. And this was right around when once again, my kids were very little, and I felt like I was so tired at the end of the day that I didn't have energy for them. And that's one of the worst things I've experienced, is just feeling like your kid wants to play and then you're too tired. It's like my little son will say, like, hey, can we go play basketball? And I'm so tired that I say no to him, and I feel so much guilt. So it's like, okay, I'm going to hire some more people, and I'm just going to spread it a little bit, and then I can pull back, and I can treat this more as a lifestyle business, and I can do 3 or 4 hours a day. I'm done by lunch or something like that. Here's the interesting thing, though, guys. The opposite happened. I am busier than I've ever been, and I never would have expected that. Yeah. I'm way busier than I ever was before, because it turns out once you hire people,
you have to manage.
Well, there's 2 things. One, nobody wants to work for somebody who's half checked out. Period.
Yeah.
And they're just going to rise to the occasion of wherever you currently are.
Yep.
And if they can sense that, like, you're not really in it, you're kind of checked out, then they're going to be kind of checked out. And that's instantly clear. So that doesn't work. And then second, it's like you hire people and they're going to be producing a bunch of stuff, and you have to oversee it and advise and give them stuff. Sometimes it's a job just giving people stuff to do and figuring out, okay, I need to know where we're going and what are you going to be doing, and let's check in on that once a week. And suddenly becoming a project manager is like one of my roles that I don't feel like I originally had. So yeah, it's not like you just hire and suddenly a weight is lifted off your shoulders. You just take on more work. You just find more things to work on, which is a little upsetting, to be honest. But it's true.
There's also all the stuff you were ignoring that you should have been doing, or you should have been doing better, that now you have time to do better. And so you do it better, but it's just filling that space that you thought was going to be empty and you were going to have after lunch to do nothing.
Exactly. You just find new stuff to do. It's the worst. That's exactly what's going to happen. Unless you replace yourself entirely. Like, I guess if I completely replaced me, then yes, you can pull back. But otherwise, if the idea is you're just going to be the person at the top and you're going to have a little lifestyle business and everyone below you is working really hard, it's not going to happen. No way.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's like you either have to be big enough that you can have a true manager, like, who's going to replace you as like the head honcho, right? And you are then the owner, and you're just dealing with the manager. You're beating on them. They are the person that's there working all the time. So the employees are like, yes, we're in it together with the, president or whatever of the company. Or you have to be a killer, which I am not. I don't think Jeffrey, that's his personality, where you have to be like, listen, guys, I'm here 2 hours a day, but you're gone if you don't work 8 hard as hell, right? Like, I'm keeping an eye on things, and if you are not busting your ass every minute of the day, you're fired, and I will find somebody to replace you. And that's not how I want to run the business, right? And how I feel comfortable with it. But I do think that also is a effective strategy if you have that in you to.
I agree.
And that's gonna get certain kinds of people to work for you at that point too, right? Like, that's probably a different type of employee than you're hiring right now, and all those kind of things.
One thing I've tried to do is I've tried to be understanding of my own personality and how I feel, and it is true. Like, some weeks you're just not in it, and it's like there's nothing wrong. You're not sick, but you're not there yet. And so it's hard sometimes if you hire people to expect that 24/7 or 40 hours a week they're going to be totally locked in, because I'm not totally locked in. And so I've tried to be very understanding that if you think you're going to get 40 hours of perfect work out of every person you hire, it's just not going to happen, especially if they're working remotely. Even if they say they're working 40, they're not. Things happen, right? People come to the door, you're having lunch with your family, that goes a little longer. There's just so many situations where parts of the day get chopped off. So I try to think instead that I would love to have about like 5 hours of good work out of a person, with the understanding that the other 3 can be a combination of just talking, chatting on Telegram, doing emails, but real work, you're not going to get much more than about 4 hours, at least from my experiences.
Especially in a creative field, which I think,
that too.
Creating content is a creative pursuit. And you have to at least I have to psych myself up to turn on the camera and get in the mode of teaching. And that, that's hard.
That's a whole thing too. It's a personality. Have you guys ever seen those videos on Instagram where it's some kind of influencer, they're at lunch or something and they're showing off their food and then the camera stops rolling and then their face just goes flat and they go back to normal and they're really up for the video and then they're done and then they just go into this darkness when they're finished. It is kind of, even for recording programming content, it's a little like that. You have to turn your personality up 35% or something like that.
That's right.
And that is weirdly tiring in a way.
So how have you managed to avoid I'm very curious about this, because when I get in the phases of not that so much day in, day out, ups and downs, but when I get into a bigger cycle of, okay, I've been doing this now, I've been doing this for 10 years, I've been doing this for 15 years, now I've been doing it for 20 years, right? I hit these milestones where it's okay, I need to recharge. That's when I build a side project. That's my side project. Every 5 years, I have to build, I got to do something different for a little while. That's just how partial of how I recharge. But I don't think you've ever built a side project, have you, Jeffrey? An honest to goodness, you are attempting to sell it side project.
No, because I feel like it just never works.
Yeah,
it's almost, if you are able to launch something and make money, it's almost like hitting a jackpot in a weird way.
Right.
And you see it all the time. Incredibly successful people try to do it a second time and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's like a weird combination of being in the right place at the right time with the right idea at the right stage of your life. And then to try to replicate that's really hard. So when I feel like I need a reset, I do work on lots of smaller things, but it always kind of gets funneled back into what I'm doing for Laracasts. So I will go really deep on updating our upload pipeline again to optimize it, to make sure that the way we take a course from an instructor and prep it and plan it and get it ready, I try to make that as optimized and seamless as possible and to take myself out of the loop. Those
You've
are
done
the sorts
forum
of things.
3 times.
I was going to say the
right?
forum. I feel he's always redoing the forum. That's my...
Yeah. And sometimes fun to focus more on just UI and design stuff. That's sometimes fun when I just need a break and I don't want to look at code. Sometimes that's fun. It's all right, we're just going to redesign this.
I do feel
the
homepage
so much
is
in the early
different
days.
all the time. I feel every time I go to Laracast homepage, I'm oh, he redid it again. It's all different again.
Yeah. Well, I do have a rule that we update the homepage once a year. That's just a rule, just to keep it fresh. You know what? I even noticed this with Netflix. Do you guys ever browse Netflix? And it's the movie covers keep changing.
Yes. Now they're
What's
wide when you're focused on it, and then you move over and it gets narrow. Yeah, it's weird.
Yes.
I noticed that.
But even sometimes the person on the cover of the movie poster is this is a side character. Why are you on the cover of this movie?
Interesting.
It keeps changing. And I think the idea is so it feels constantly new to you.
Yeah, that's
you're always finding new content, even though it maybe isn't new. So yeah, I do have a rule that we update the homepage once a year. I kind of like where it is currently. I don't love we have a light theme. I'm looking at it right now. I don't love it quite as much, but we need to work on that a bit. But that's fun. When I need a little bit of a breather, I become sort of a front ender, and I just spend all my days writing CSS
sellable.
and view code.
But you did Laravel Mix for a while, and that's kind of side project shaped.
Sure. Mix was wildly popular. I never.
It was.
It was interesting when I used it. I never realized how popular it was until one day I looked at the downloads and it was millions and millions. And that
it was everybody.
Yeah. And then Vite is just so much. Mix was kind of a nightmare to build, honestly, because I wasn't qualified to work on that tool in the first place. So I constantly felt like I was playing catch up with that tool. The node world is it is a whole thing, guys. And everything keeps changing. So when Mix was actually before Mix, it was a tool called Elixir. And that was made using a node tool called Gulp. And then Gulp kind of got replaced by Webpack and we had to rebuild it. And then we renamed it to Mix. And it's just, I never That's one of the only projects I worked on where I never felt like I really understood it. Even today, honestly. If you told me, like, do something with Webpack, I don't think I could, guys. I think all of that learning is completely down the drain at this point.
You were just learning just enough to get the job done, and it's all gone. Like, you didn't
so like, I'm the substitute teacher. I was like one chapter ahead of the class just so I could kind of understand what we're doing. But beyond that, I don't like that world at all. I
remember it. It was written in a very like back-end PHP developer style. It had like proper JavaScript classes and everything, and I loved it. It was so easy for me to look at. And nowadays I look inside Vite and I'm like, well, hopefully Joe Tenenbaum figures it out, because I have no idea what's going on here.
JavaScript classes are interesting because they are just notoriously hated. And yet, whenever I use them, I'm like, I kind of like it.
And whenever you
somebody will be like, no, they're awful.
Yes. You ask why don't people like them? And they're like, because we don't like them. And you're like, that's not an answer. I don't get that at all.
Well, it's definitely like, I'm sure a large number of people have very strong opinions about it, but you learn with all of these things, it's a little bit of groupthink. It's a little bit like, what do we think about JavaScript? Oh, we don't like them? Okay, we don't like JavaScript classes.
Yeah.
And you notice this with the PHP stuff as well. I've been in the industry long enough just to see, and you guys have too, to see the trends come and go, and this is the hot thing, and then suddenly it's not the cool thing, and nobody uses it, and everyone acts like they were part of the right group the whole time along, and it's never that way.
Command buses are out, actions are in.
Right. Yep. And it's like, they're not that different.
They're not
but actions are the hot thing, and I get it because I like actions too. But
actions are great.
Before actions, they were something called use cases. And long before Laravel, I worked at a company called Envato, and they had kind of a similar thing, and they called them use cases, but it was basically the exact same thing. It's funny to see these kind of trends and practices come, and then they disappear, and then they come back again. And whenever they come back, everyone assumes that's like a brand new way of doing things. It's not. It's the way that it was done 20 years ago.
Yep.
It's nice how we've landed in this little relatively calm section of the internet development world, though. Like, I would not want to be in the JavaScript end of the world. Like, that is just, it's brutal over there. I don't know. There's a lot of anger. It's a lot of just like change for change's sake, as we've kind of been talking about throughout the show here. But yeah, I don't know. The slow, steady progress of PHP and Laravel is so nice.
I even think the Laravel, like, the handoff point to the JavaScript world is getting a little fast for me. You pull down a starter kit and it's all TypeScript, and it's all, generated types and all this stuff. And I'm just like, we've moved on to Vue 3 composition API, which I know is what we're supposed to be using. And I just feel like I'm an old man at this point.
It's good, Aaron. You just got to do it. You just got to do it.
I know.
Composition API. You know what? Composition API is like Tailwind. Your first experience is probably negative. It's like, what are we doing here? What? I got to add 10 class. And then suddenly you're like, okay, I get it. That's how I feel about the Composition API. It leaves a horrible taste in your mouth the first time you use it. And then once you stick with it, and especially recently, they've added more macros to simplify some of the annoying stuff. It starts to make sense. And I get it, though. When it was first released, I thought, Evan, the creator of Vue, what are you doing, man?
What are you doing?
You're going to destroy
the shark. Yep.
Did you not see that Angular did this exact thing where they released a new version? It wasn't compatible and they lost all their audience. You're going to do it again. But to be fair, I think in hindsight, I think he was right, because I do enjoy the Composition API quite a bit. But yes, other than that, Java,
was he right though? Because I feel like everybody uses React. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Vue's even like in the conversation. I don't think that was
the reason, though.
Yeah, I feel like the Composition API maybe was like, we're trying to stave off React, but
I think that's
failed.
Right. Yeah,
maybe you're right. Do you guys think React is a better tool, or it's just the more popular tool?
More popular.
I haven't used either enough. Like, I built one app in Vue a long time ago. I learned React a couple years ago just to try it out. I learned, like, I just went through it, and I don't remember any of it now, but I don't know. I just stick with Livewire. I'm like, just leave me on the back end. I don't want to deal with all the weird stuff in the front. It's fine. I like Livewire. That's enough for me. I'm
curious, at this point, I haven't used Livewire in a while. Is there any point when you're using Livewire where you're like, I have to write a bunch of JavaScript? And is the idea like, once you need to do that, you're just reaching for Alpine?
Yeah, in the spots where if you have to write some JavaScript, you would just want to use Alpine generally, because it's kind of seamless and they work together a little bit, whatever. But you could do a lot with no JavaScript, basically, or very, very little JavaScript. if you want like, mostly I think it comes down to, there's a few spots you're going to want to drop in the JavaScript here and there if you want like something needs to be truly optimistic UI sort of, and not wait for that response from the server. But for like most things, it's just fine. And then occasionally, if you have something like a critical element that you really want to be actually instantaneous, then you can go into JavaScript to help with that. But yeah, that's kind of most of the time you don't need to drop into JavaScript. But there's a lot of black magic to it. So there is like, it can be frustrating at times where you're like, how does this all wire up? Like there's a weird, there has its own quirks. It's not a total solution. It's not like, oh, you just use it and you don't have any trouble. It's just all perfect. There are sometimes when you bump up against the magic, it can be frustrating.
But you know what? That's true if you're using Vue or React as well.
Everywhere.
Like you end up with some white screen and something in console.log that you have no idea what it's referring to. That's the worst thing.
40 frames of vendor and you're like, I don't know what any of this means.
Exactly. It's like, this isn't helpful to me at all. And God, sometimes I've just had situations where it's like, I have no clue where the issue is. I have no pointer to where it is. And I'm just going to slowly like delete lines of code to see if it makes the error go away. And then I have to like narrow it down like, okay, this was the thing that caused it, because for whatever reason, it doesn't show up in the error log. I've run into that as well. So you have issues no matter what you use, I think.
I do think the one nice thing nowadays in like the Vue React side of the world, which is an improvement, and I'm talking totally out of school and my very limited knowledge here of playing around with it a little bit, but is like, at least with inertia, like you get rid of all the state stuff. I don't know. I feel like when I was more back in the day trying to figure out React and these things, like, well, now I'm like using these state things on the front end. I'm trying to on my own to synchronize it to the back end, and like things are out of whack with each other, and now it's all a disaster. Whereas at least just treat it like, okay, inertia is going to sync it to the back, and I don't have to ever worry about that. It's like,
I do love
a
it.
better
Inertia's
story,
really great.
So I like that. But
my only issue with React has ever been like, I don't care either way. But it always feels like React is very programmer-y, with a Y on the end.
Very low level.
Right. And it's like, I'm just not interested. To me, it almost sometimes feels like the antithesis of what Laravel is. And whenever I see those examples where it shows like the Vue implementation and then the React, I always pick the Vue implementation. And it's always weird because like 98% of people are telling me this is the right version, but I prefer this one over here. And I don't know. I feel like you should stick with your gut on these things, but it is true. Like React, like won the battle.
So far,
On Laracasts, what's your percentage front end content, Vue or React? Where what do you think
the actual Laracast
is?
Code base, or do you mean the content?
No, the content.
The courses. Well, the courses are largely Vue based because that's all I know.
So
but Simon, who joined us about a year ago, he is a React guy, so we've gotten a lot more React content in the past. And it seems like this is the hard part, is like deciding, do we make more of that content because it seems like that's the way the industry is going? Or do you stick your guns on what you prefer to do? This is a battle I constantly have.
Right.
Do you cut? And I noticed this with all education platforms, by the way. It's like, do you jump on the new popular thing because you're going to get a lot of traffic and everyone wants to learn the new popular thing? Or do you hold back a little? I don't know. I struggle with that a lot. I kind of hate the idea of just jumping on the new popular thing.
I know.
Because it fills all of us with anxiety that like, oh, I got to learn this. Look, this new thing's out. Everyone's talking about it. There's a new course here. I have to watch it. And honestly, the answer so frequently is like, no, you don't. You can just hold off and this thing will pass, and then you can grab the next thing that comes around if you want. So that is something I struggle with, though, because it's a battle between, realistically, like a battle between make more money or stick to your guns and stick with the fundamentals and things like that. It's a thing for sure.
Make more money or do what I want to do,
Right.
That is the tough question. Yeah.
I think with Laracast too, like it's kind of a little bit of a unique spot too, because especially in the early days, but even now it's still linked all over the Laravel website and stuff, like obviously in the early days it was like Laracast was almost like more prominent than like the Laravel stuff. It's like, go to Laracast and learn how to do this, right? And so like you also have that, like you were kind of setting the developer mindset, about what is the right way to write Laravel code or to build projects and things. And that has its own like
it's horrible,
kind of
right?
additional level of responsibility above just like, here is how the technology works, go forth and do whatever you want with it, right? Which is kind of how a lot of more course stuff is. So
yeah, and it's like that is not a good position to be put in, because it's certainly not deserved. I always took the angle of like, here's something I figured out and I'm going to share it with you. But it was never meant to be anything more than, here's something I figured out. That's why I got started in the first place, actually, like making videos. It was like a way to document my progress. Okay, I finally figured out how to do this. And sometimes I swear it was like, I figured out how to link from this page to that page. I need to document this in video form so I don't forget how to use an anchor tag. I'm not even joking. And so I did that more and more. But it was never meant to be like, this is the right way to do it, and I'm going to set the standard, and this is like, that was never the motivation, because I don't deserve it. I haven't earned it, but it does get...
I don't know about that. But do you think your videos to me always have that, I think you've nailed it, and it's a very unique style, which is felt very much like the developer, just like how we all are when we're actually building something, which is like, I don't know how to do this thing. I go and figure out how to do this thing, and now I kind of know how to do it, but I'm not totally sure. And like, your videos are always like that, and where you've cut out sometimes the like, you've obviously optimized it because you have gone through it and now know how to do it, but you still present it of the like, oh, this is broken.
Yep.
Why is that broken? And then you give us the little tour of why it's broken, and then we go through and like, more so than the more straightforward, this is how you do this thing. Now this is how you do this thing. Now this is how you do this thing. I don't know. Obviously, tricky. It was intentional, but I think it's a big part of your success, in my opinion.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a tricky thing, and Aaron, I'm sure you can relate to this. You're obviously, when you're recording, you're going to hit errors. Like, things just don't go the way you plan, and then you have to decide, all right, do I rewind and then do it again the proper way? And the answer is like, sometimes yes, you should rewind. But then also sometimes like the debugging is the thing the person takes away from the video. And I'm not even joking. Somebody will say, I didn't really care about this, but when you did that, and then you did the debugger, that I never knew you could do that. And it turns out that weird side quest you go on in a video, it's the thing people actually take away. So, but it is very difficult to figure out how much of that to include, because if you do it too much, everyone's like, okay, this guy has no idea.
You're just watching somebody code, which is annoying, right?
And this is a little bit of my issue with streaming. It's like, I don't necessarily want to watch somebody for 4 hours.
I don't know who does. I don't get that.
People do like the streaming. I don't know.
It must be an age thing. That's all I can imagine. Because I watch a lot of streams and they're like, all right, chat, what do you think I should? It's like, I don't have time to hear what chat thinks about what you need to do next, right? But it's got to be a generational thing, because young people, it's like they wildly prefer that. And I wonder if it's more like you're connecting with another human being and you feel like you're part of it.
Yeah.
But the really great ones have a style. It's like the Primogen, right? Like, yeah, maybe you're learning something about the code there, but I think you're also just watching it as pure entertainment, because he's frenetically going around, like doing screaming something insane. He's screaming and like, right? So like, it's also just, I don't care what he's actually coding. I'm just gonna, and it's not really for me. I don't like watch a lot of him, but like when I do watch him, I get the idea of like, well, this is just entertainment. Yes. Nobody's learning to program from the
They're just backgrounding him while they
he's a genius,
work or
right?
pretend to work.
You're watching this genius work, and it's interesting, as opposed to I'm going to be educated by this content. Like,
I wonder if it's the same as the difference between like watching a TV show versus reading a book versus reading a magazine. It's like they're very different formats. And what you're gonna, when you really want to dig into something, you may not choose the magazine, right? But I don't know.
Yeah, there's like my big YouTube thing in the last year or so has been chess, and there's like Gotham
you're into chess?
I'm into chess. Yeah,
I love chess.
Are you a chess man? Oh, you're a chess guy.
Oh, I grew up playing. I was playing in tournaments when I was a teenager all the time.
Oh my gosh!
I was at one point, to pat myself on the back, when I was like 12 or 13, I was the Tennessee state champion of chess.
What?
Get the hell out of here!
Yes.
What?
I haven't played in a long time, but that was kind of one of my thing when I was young. Was I was really good at chess.
That's a
you guys
really
should exchange usernames. Y'all should play.
Get on chess.com, Jeffrey. Get in the
crazy.
Streets.
Yeah.
Well, you crushed me though. You're really good. I'm not really good. Wow.
So you just suddenly decided you're gonna learn this and get good at it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting good. I'm getting okay. I'm like 1100 on chess.com, which is not amazing or anything. It's middle of the road, but yeah, it's fine. It's fun. I don't know why it's I had my gallbladder issue and I was sick and I was like kind of out of commission and I was sitting around, and that's like when the chess chess.com kind of started. I was playing with chess, and then I was like, oh, let me figure out how to actually play.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It is.
The way I always explain it is, think of when you're playing chess, think of it literally like a battle you're having. And when you think of it that way, like if you're entering a battle, you would never take the pawn on your A column and move it up, because you would never start a battle like way over here. You would try to control the center of the field, right? So that's what you want to do at the beginning. You want to control the center. You don't want to go on the edges. Nobody would ever do that in real life. So don't do it in chess. So if you try to find that parallel, it really affects, like, okay, you would never take the king or the queen and put them in the middle of the field because they're going to get wrecked in real life.
Right. Yeah.
So you protect them and you make sure everyone is supporting each other. So yeah, it's such a fun. I don't play it as much anymore. I think I kind of burned out on it in college, but I do love it so much.
Did you teach the kids? Did you get the kids
on
it?
Yes, both of my kids are in chess class every Friday. They love it.
Okay.
And it's always interesting. Like, my son takes to it. My daughter, not so interested in it. And that's another fun thing with kids, is like learning, like, they just go down different paths, and you can raise them identically, and they are their own little people. And he is gone. He's a little more logical, like I am. And my daughter is like the creative. She will always want to do performances and things like that, which I would never want to do. But yeah, it's fun. And it's such a great, by the way, it's such a great thing to teach your kids, because you're not just teaching them a game, you're teaching them about, like, how to think about the world.
Yes,
if I do this, then what are they going to do? And it teaches you to, like, take a moment. I'm not going to move until I have an idea of what's going to happen if I do that. Like, all of these things overflow into your life. And I really, like, not to be cheesy, but I really do think it made me a much better person.
I totally agree. I mean, I think all the kids have learned it. Only the oldest really took to it. The other two are not as into it, but it's been great for him. Like, he did some tournaments, and then, like, now he's in college and he's in chess club in college. So, like, especially nowadays where there's so much less sort of reasons to be together in the real world, right? It's like, well, you can be in chess club and meet some people and hang out and have something in common, you know? So that's been really good.
And by its nature, it's like, when you're in chess club, you're surrounded by smart people. You know, it's these are the people you want your son around. These are smart people who are likely going to do pretty well in life. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, when he was younger, we lived near Vassar College, and they have this public chess club called the Chadwick Club that's been around since, like, I don't know, 1800 or whatever. And then he'd go there, and it'd be like him as a 12-year-old and a bunch of old men who are all like 2,000 ELO, like, chess crushers, awesome. Right? And, like, so here's this, like, he's playing these adults and having these interactions and, like, just getting different life experience, being around some adults who aren't just his parents. And
amazing. That's great. Yeah. That's great parenting, Ian. That's so good.
Parenting win. So, but yeah, so that's like kind of along those lines. Like, you have, like, some of the chess YouTubers are, like, training you, right? But then there's, like, Hikaru, who's, like, the second best chess player in the world, and you watch his videos, and you don't even have any idea what he's talking. He's like 20 moves ahead on every move. He's like, well, if I move this thing, that has these 74 other implications, and you can't even understand you're not learning anything. But you are entertained by watching somebody who is so incredibly proficient show off their proficiency. So that's kind of like with the programming YouTube, I get that vibe. It's like sometimes you're learning and sometimes you are just being entertained.
And maybe you need both, right? Maybe both are totally essential. Yeah, I like that.
How has YouTube impacted Laracast? Has that been an issue?
Yes.
Big sigh.
Yeah.
I would prefer not to be involved with YouTube at all. And this is interesting. Not for any, like, I like YouTube. YouTube is the app I use, or the website I use, more than any other. So I don't have a problem with YouTube. I would prefer people to go to Laracast, and it just turns out people would much rather be on YouTube, and I totally get it. Why would you go to this dedicated website when you have a feed of every other thing you're interested in here? But then it's like, you just have to agree to the YouTube way of doing things, which I don't love. And I think any platform like this, like, you have to figure out, like, how much do you put on YouTube versus how much do you try to drive people to the actual website? And then there's this worry sometimes of, like, if I put too much on YouTube, then you're watering down the brands, and people begin to expect that it should be free.
Everything should be there.
Aaron, like, I wonder if you deal with this. Like, you have such good content on YouTube. Do you find that it's actually helpful because it drives people to buy your courses, or do they just assume, I'll wait for the free stuff? I don't actually need to buy
So far, it's been fine, because most of the content on my YouTube channel is Laravel content, and I don't have any Laravel courses. I will run into this much more headlong when I have the Database School YouTube channel and I'm doing database content and selling database courses. So that's still an open question for me.
My instinct is you're probably okay. Like, I think it's my worry that people actually don't want to go and pay. My guess is they will. There's just a certain percentage of people who buy courses or subscribe to education almost more for the high of feeling like you're improving yourself. And you see this all the time. People buy courses and then they don't even watch them, you know, but they get the satisfaction of having bought the course. You know, it's like you're so proud of yourself that you bought something education related. And then so often they don't even finish watching the thing, which is so common, by the way. But it's okay. You still get the money either way, right?
You still got the value, and you got the value. I just wanted to feel like I was improving myself by buying this course. And I've got that value out of it, even if I didn't actually take the course.
It's like buying a self-help book from the bookstore, and then you don't read the self-help book,
exactly
but you're just so proud that you bought it. You're improving
I'm gonna get
yourself,
to it.
You know? That's enough.
And your guys' stuff's even a little different, because I still do like go in and I'll hop into Laracasts fairly often and like just I'll watch a video out of this series, right? You have 10 videos. But it's like, I just need to know this one thing. I'm going to go in there and get that one thing from Jeffrey, and I'm going to pop out. Like, so that's great. You know, it's all together. It's in one spot. It's on the website. I don't have to like go digging around some weird place for it or whatever.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is difficult figuring out how we deal with the AI situation, because it's so much easier to just ask AI, like, give me an example of how I would use this thing, you know? Suddenly you don't have to watch a video to get the information. Because in the past, the way it was is so often for whatever package or tool you're trying to learn, for whatever reason, like the README file on GitHub never showed you how to use the thing. They showed you the full API, but then actually using it never showed it. It was the weirdest thing. So sometimes videos or tutorials would fill that gap of like, okay, here's what you do. Run this command, then do the blah, blah, blah. But now you don't need a tutorial or a video to show you how to do those things. You can just ask AI, give me a quick installation example, a usage example, and it'll give it to you in 5 seconds. Perfectly tailored to whatever you're working on at the moment. So it's a little difficult to figure out where video-based education
I knew it
is going to end up right now. And I know Aaron's thinking about it. I am
Keeps
too.
me awake.
I guarantee Povilas is thinking. Every single person is trying to figure out like where you fit in. If this is just a Blockbuster situation where you just you slide down the hill,
it literally
into nothingness.
Keeps me awake. It's not a phrase. It literally keeps me awake at night.
It would be weird if it didn't keep you awake. That's what I try to remind myself. It would be weird if you were not concerned about this, because you very much should be.
Even last night, I could not sleep because I was thinking, have I chosen the wrong business? Even last night. So things are going awesome.
And Aaron, like, not to make you feel bad because we're in the same boat, so I can say this. Maybe the answer is yes. Like maybe the answer is yes for you and me, and this is just the way things go. You want to believe, like, there's all these conversations right now about, like, to what extent AI is going to replace developers. And of course, nobody agrees on anything, which is tough. I go on Twitter and it's like, either everything has changed overnight.
Yes, I know.
You know, as everything has changed, or nothing has changed. And if you think AI is going to make a difference, then you're an idiot developer.
And I would imagine lying.
Right. And I would imagine most of us are somewhere in the middle, and we've all experienced something with AI where you're like, wow, that was pretty ridiculous that it one-shotted that. You know, like we've all had that experience, and it's only going to happen more and more often.
And we've also all spent 40 minutes arguing and saying, this method doesn't exist. Stop suggesting this method. And so it's like, what am I supposed to believe? Is that going to go away? Like, are the hallucinations going to go away? I don't know. Yeah.
They sort of have, though, right? It's not like it was 2 years ago.
Sort of.
Hallucinations,
they're getting better, but they haven't gone away completely, for sure.
And you get into more complicated situations. It still doesn't do always quite as well unless you keep it really tight, you know. But yeah, it's interesting because you could go ahead, Joe.
No, you finish, Ian.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, you guys are at different sort of ends of the journey a little bit, right? Because like Jeffrey has revenue, and even if it's slow decline, he will have revenue for a long time, I think. Aaron, you have to like build up to the revenue. So are you at this point where like who knows if it's gonna survive? But then I would say, I guess my thing is like with HelpSpot, like instantly day one, everybody was like, oh, we're going to get rid of customer service, right? Because like the AI is going to do customer service. And I was like, oh man, is this it? Is HelpSpot done? But I don't know. It's been like 3 years, and like I haven't seen like an obvious. We don't even get asked about AI that much, which is partially probably
awesome.
self-selected customers who are like not interested in an AI heavy workflow. But also, it definitely hasn't like replaced all customer service. And every time I use an AI bot, it freaking sucks. Still, it's like it's not any better really than it was. It speaks to me better, but it's not actually that much better than like they were 10 years ago in terms of actually solving my problems. So I think we're still kind of a long way on some of this stuff, but yeah, like for selling to consumers, it's more like what you guys are doing. It's a little harder. Like, are they just going to assume that the AI is going to give them right answers so they don't need courses anymore, even though maybe they should still have courses? Because I mean, the AI works so much better when you actually know what you're already doing, right? Like when you can guide it, it's such a better experience than when you're just totally vibe coding it and thinking it's all going great until you get a little farther along and you're like, oh, actually the whole thing blew up and it's all terrible, right? So yeah, maybe that's part of the angle too, right? Is like you can be better AI coders when you have this knowledge, and that's part of the shtick, maybe.
Yeah, and it does make me wonder, like when you do know what you're doing and you see what AI produces, sometimes it's like, whoa, you went down a path you absolutely did not need to go down to accomplish this. And you're able to say, no, don't do that. I've said this so many times to AI where I'm like, no, you made this 10 times more complicated than you needed to, right? And then it goes, you're absolutely right. And then it does something much more basic.
I love when
but
it
if you
does
don't have that knowledge, you just accept it. And it's no wonder why when people try to do vibe coding to any significant extent, it just goes down the tubes because eventually it all comes back to get you, right? And so I do agree. If you want to call that, are people calling that context engineering now? Is that the new term?
Right.
I don't know. I don't really care, but I don't know. Either way, it doesn't change the fact that I worry about this stuff all of the time, and I guess that's okay.
That makes me feel somewhat better. Not a lot better. not a lot better because I still have to put food on my family, but that makes me feel a little bit better that you're
Well, you know what's more disturbing? Have you guys played around with that Suno app? I think that's how you say it. Suno. It's where you can generate a song.
Oh yeah.
Suno. Let me look. Suno.com. It is absurdly good. Like this is maybe the most staggeringly impressive and scary thing at the same time. You can just feed it a set of lyrics and a style of music, and literally within 15 seconds, you have a song that is not just like passable, but it's incredibly good. Like weirdly
that's
good.
crazy.
And
I think you can get the stems for it now. So like all the instruments are separated, so you can like actually take it into production.
You can make it sound like your own voice.
It's crazy.
Well,
you can feed it a set of lyrics, and then they will turn that into a song. And it's like they're not just turning it into a song; they're turning it into a really good song.
It's a good
because
song.
for whatever reason, there's some algorithm that is found what the what the correct sequence of notes to make something memorable is, and they're always good. And it's so good to the point that I would imagine if I were a professional singer or musician, it would be a little upsetting. But here's the other interesting thing. And Aaron, you and I talked about this once. No matter how good the songs are on the Suno app, I never feel any need to keep listening to them. And that is what I find most interesting.
Yep.
It can be incredibly impressive, and yet there's no connection. There's no sense of like, I'm going to save this to my playlist and keep listening. It's never happened, despite the fact that they are often really good.
And that gives me hope.
As it should, right? I think
really
absolutely.
I do wonder with music though, because like you're used to not seeing the people with music, right? So it's like eventually if that will get chipped away at, it's a little different than somebody I see on video and I have a more of a human connection with, I just saw a thing literally yesterday where Spotify, it's never made any money because they, pay out a lot to the artists as they should. But to them, they're like, this is an interesting opportunity because if they could just AI the music, well, now they can keep 100% of the money, right? And so they are doing a ton of R&D right now on, AI music for Spotify.
This is like the self-driving Uber thing. It's like, hey, thanks for building the network. Drivers are gone. We'll take it from here.
And it can once again be one of those generational things where young kids don't have that need to have a human connected to it, so they don't care. I feel like for many of us, it's not just liking a song, but it's going down the rabbit hole of the band or the group who made the song and figuring out like, who are they? Where did they come from? When did they get started? What are they going to work on next? And none of that exists, obviously, with an AI-generated song. But maybe young people won't have that.
Or it will.
Maybe,
I kind of think the opposite, that like, how many times have you gotten into somebody and they only have one album? and you're like, oh, there's only one album, there's only 2 albums, and I know it all, right? It's like, boy, now it could just make me more albums. There's a whole bunch of albums.
There is some like with the latest Blink 182 album, there is something like totally different about having grown up as Blink 182 is growing up.
Right.
And now the songs are old men looking back at their childhood. And you're like, I was there with you. And it just hits like completely different because now I'm an old man too. And I don't know. I feel like that some part, maybe that'll be niche, but some part of that will have to continue
so
to
much
exist.
of society now is like, this is the big, I mean, what I feel the most missing, like we were talking about with movies, is like the shared experience. Like there's no, all there is like the NFL is shared experience, right? There's like no more shared experience of anything. Like nobody watches the same shows, nobody watches the same movies. Like there's no shared experience.
Taylor
and,
Swift is a shared experience.
That was awesome. Like we went to Era's tour and that was great.
My wife
Sometimes
and
you have these
all
things
of her friends go to these
through.
movies of concerts and
so
then
like,
actual concerts.
Still the couple that can hang on, right? But it's like nothing like when we were younger. So like maybe this generation's growing up with like there are no shared experiences.
Yeah.
Outside of perhaps a very, very
huge
few,
loss.
you know?
Yeah.
It feels like a huge loss to me, but I don't know. Maybe they'll be like, everybody listens to their own Spotify custom playlist and it just does the stuff you like. And that's it. It feels empty. I know. I don't know. But this
feels empty.
I don't know.
Feels
AI,
like
I think people want
videos.
humans. I think people
they
want
do
humans.
want humans.
I think so.
I think so.
To go back to chess,
Probably.
Ian, there was a point in the 90s. Do you remember the whole thing with Deep Blue and Gary Kasparov?
Oh, yeah.
Does this ring a bell at all?
Yeah.
Deep Blue was like the first computer chess engine that could beat a human. And in the late 90s, this was like a whole thing. It's funny. It's kind of like quaint now. But at the time, there was all of this discussion around, is it possible that a computer could be creative enough to beat a human at chess? And we didn't know the answer to that, which is so funny.
It's crazy.
But at the time, we didn't. And there was this whole big event where Gary Kasparov, who was I'm pretty sure it was Gary. Yeah. He was the world champion at the time, and he played against this computer called Deep Blue.
A server rack. I remember seeing pictures of it.
It was a big deal, and Deep Blue beat him. And this was a whole thing. And at the time, I remember this because I was really into it at the time. There were all these discussions around like, what does this mean? Will people even care about who the world champion is anymore when the world champion is now a computer? Nobody cares about humans because a computer can run circles around them at this point, and it's only going to get better and better. And, of course, what turned out is that nobody cares. You still are curious about the humans.
I
still see Magnus Carlsen on Twitter every 6 months.
Right. I know all about Magnus, and I don't know anything about Deep Blue or whatever the successor is, and that's the thing. So
even related to...
Go ahead.
Even related to us, I just think that next level for our personal lives here is like now the AI of chess has evolved like way beyond Deep Blue to the point where all of us, every time you play a game with chess.com, you can have the AI evaluation of every move you made wrong and how you could have won perfectly. And it's just available to everybody. And we all use that if you're into chess as a tool to get better, but then you're still primarily playing humans. Like I never played, there's AI bots at every level. So you can play a hard AI bot, a simple AI, easy AI bot. And I rarely play the AI bots. I just want to play the other humans. So it's like, yeah, maybe this is where AI will go with programming too, right? It's like, it's a tool and it's better than you are, but you still are bringing something human to it that it can't bring to it. And that is the rub. And it's making you a better programmer, helping you make better software. But it's not exactly taking over for you.
I hope that's where we're headed. I don't know about you guys. I certainly feel like I am a better developer in the last 2 years because of AI.
Yeah.
I don't
agree.
necessarily feel like I have pulled back like you might worry. I actually feel like I've used it and I am now smarter and I've learned new things and I figured out how to do things that I otherwise wouldn't have attempted. So far, I think we're on that trajectory, Ian. And yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
And also, as I'm getting older here, it's like, I love that it does stuff for me. Like it remembers that I had that function call in those other files that I totally forgot about, right? And it doesn't miss them the way I'm with 100% of the time miss that. And it would be a bug until I fixed it or somebody reported it, whatever. Like it never forgets that. And like little things like that, or it makes the 20 files for the new feature. So I don't have to make the stupid 20 files manually and all that stuff. So there are just like those things that are huge. And yeah, definitely. I feel like better, or just even programming more, because it's like, it's taking all the drudgery out of the stupid stuff. And so now I am doing the creative part, which is the part I like. I personally don't care so much about writing every bracket and that end of it. For me, I'm more interested in like the product, and so it's more enabling of that. Since that's the part that interests me personally more than writing the best code per se.
Right.
So
humans still required. I like that. That's a good
Humans
place. That's an
required.
optimistic note to leave it.
There
humans
we go.
still
We came
required.
around. We
Finally.
came around to optimism.
Been waiting an hour and a half for an optimistic note. We got one.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jeffrey, for coming
sweet
on.
hang.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys. I am, by the
amazing.
way, I am such a fan of both of you and your podcast and what you do. So I'm just so grateful that you guys invited me on, and maybe I'll do it one more time and get the hat trick.
We'll get you back on for sure.
Back. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
Very
Yes, thank you so
appreciated.
much. You know we love your stuff. You're the OG, the true OG. Unbelievable that you're still around. You're still at the top of your game. I love to see it. That's my favorite thing. Just out there doing it. Great stuff. So. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks, Jeffrey, for coming on. Check Jeff. Go to laracast.com. Obviously, if you don't know about it, you should check that out. And mostlytechnical.com for all the old episodes. And we will talk to you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
See ya. Bye.
Thanks.